Amazing.
We'd like to welcome you back to GrokTALK. My name's Steve McDonald. I am here with Skip Murphy, Mike Rogers, Ed Nails entered the room, and Jim Rubens is hanging out because we're just so much fun to be with. We are coming to you live, sort of, if you're here in the room. Otherwise, you're listening to us live, recorded. Sorry. It's from the CNHT studios in beautiful Concord, New Hampshire, and it is beautiful today. We always like to take a visit and talk about the weather slightly. It's nice, it's cooler, it's more like September than July this week. Finally, whereas it's been more like Bermuda than it's just hot.
You know, I was in D.C. this week trying not to get arrested at the DOJ for my opinions, and it was amazingly pleasant weather there. It was not, as I normally refer to it, soggy bottom, because it's usually the sweatiest place in the universe.
It is. And so we would like to shift back to some of the gears we were on in the beginning of the first segment. Ed Nails here, chairman of the coalition.
Sound like me.
And my palate is all swollen because I got stitches up there, and now it's just me being me. The Coalition of New Hampshire Taxpayers, and we're going to talk about domicile, and which was a wood chipper in France. Was that what it was? A woodshed? Yeah. Okay.
Look up domicile on Google, and that's what you'll find. I think I might be. Here we go. I can hear myself now.
There we go. We have to adjust.
I think that's it.
You speak out. So, hey Ed.
No, it's still too loud.
Lots going on this week, huh?
Yeah, good morning, guys.
How you doing?
It's a fun time to be a conservative in New Hampshire, isn't it?
It is. It is. Always. But better this week.
Yeah, I've seen you've been writing some stuff on Granite Rock, which is very encouraging, and delving into details of voter fraud, which we've tried to ignore and shove under the table. And I think tractor trailer loads of cat litter to cover it up here in New Hampshire, but that's all going to be unveiled over the next coming year. It's going to take a while to undo this.
You get that? Make a note of that, Democrats who think this is going away in a couple of days. It's not.
I think a lot of high-profile Democrats should come out right now and say there's no voter fraud in New Hampshire, and tell us what the definition of domicile is, anything like that. I think they should start chirping up as soon as possible and try and stem this from leaking through the dike. I welcome the challenge. And not that I'll respond. I think we just continue to do what we're doing and ask why, as an attorney from Little Rock, Arkansas, living in the historical district of Portsmouth and getting I don't know how he survives. Does he get a free rent from a candidate for office? Because I don't know how do you survive in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, in $1 million some home without some sort of pocket change to keep you there for 6 or 8 months while you're working on a campaign for a state senator. Or in 2008, I think she was a candidate for Congress. We're talking about Martha's Motel.
Martha Stewart Clark. Hey, Martha. Yes, Martha Fuller Clark has a lovely home in Portsmouth, and we've dubbed it Martha's Motel. Mm-hmm. 1.4 million estimated assessed value, something like that. Nice big 5-bedroom home in the historic part of Portsmouth, where you don't normally find flop houses, typically.
Well, I don't know if I should call it a flop house. I think it's more like home jamming.
Nope.
Yeah, you're bringing all these people from other states in that can vote here. I call it home jamming.
Home jamming? Yeah.
Something maybe the Democrats can identify with home jamming.
I'm sure they'll be finding some Republicans who've done it. Maybe getting them to plead guilty.
Well, I'm a registered Democrat.
Yes,
and if you find any Republicans or Republican activists who voted twice, let me know. I'll file the charges. If you find them here voting illegally, I will do the same, and I will put them through the same rigorous background check that we do with all our Democrats who've come here from out of state. I don't know of any. I know a lot of guys who've come here and worked on campaigns and stayed, actually worked in this office with us, who lived in New Hampshire for years after they came here and found out what a great place it is. But I'm not finding that with the people who work for congressmen in D.C. or lawyers from Arkansas who have offices and homes and things like that. Or
people who might have been Senate for then Senator Barack Obama.
Yeah,
people like that.
People with passports, other countries that come here. Usually they keep their passport unless a judge takes it away for a crime. Those kind of voters. That's what I'm looking for. We've always tried to check the background of college students who come here and vote here illegally. It's not legal to vote here in New Hampshire. I don't care what the Democratic Party tells you, or any spokesman or candidate's helper tells you. You better check the laws in your state if you come to New Hampshire as a college student to vote, because some states revoke your citizenship if you vote in another state. There's 50 states. We got a lot of states to check up on. I hope you can read very well because it's buried in the language. But
it is. The Secretary of State's website of your particular state will have a lot of details about what happens to your driver's license if you vote in another state. What, all kinds of interesting things.
And some other state. This state, we've hidden almost anything relevant to discovering who someone is who votes here. So we have, something like 4,000 people we can't account for voted in the last election.
So far.
Which means anybody can walk into those 4,000 check boxes and check present and vote without any ID. But unfortunately for the non-resident voters, that's not the way it is in your state. So I can actually get your signature in another state. I can get a photograph of you. I can get all kinds of all information from you if you're from another state voting here. And that is the way I intend to pursue this doggedly. And we're going to go back as far as we can. I have people from 2002 and all the way back to 2002. I'll be visiting on the internet. So you're going to see your name crop up. So you may have moved on from your college days here in New Hampshire and established a home or a business or connections somewhere else. Better Google your name on a regular basis to see if we've drug you up, and then have some explanations. And as with everything, I'm easy to find. If you think I've made a false accusation against you for voting here illegally, have your lawyer contact me, and we'll just go through discovery and we'll get it all out on the table. I have a big table right here waiting. I've been at this for 13 years. No one has done that yet. Most of the calls to me have been whimpering calls saying, please take my name off your list, or please don't do this to me anymore. So that's what I'll be doing, and if the Attorney General's office in New Hampshire thinks that I'm intimidating voters from out of state, I'm willing to do that dance with him as well. So if you want to come charge me with voter intimidation from somebody from California voting here, I welcome the challenge.
Yeah,
I think that's the whole point.
I do think that in a lot of cases, most college students think that Discovery is a TV channel, not something where they're going to have to lay everything out on the table.
It's actually something your father's attorney will seriously sit down with you and talk about.
Yes, you will get educated really quick.
And for those of you who think it's in voter intimidation, in fact, we had a gentleman going by the name of Bruce Curry comment on my blog when I said we don't care if you're Republican or Democrat or a Libertarian or Conservative or Independent. If you're voting here illegally and you live someplace else, we want to know who you are, and we're going to go figure you out.
No, we have a right to.
And so he's going on and on about how I just lost my train of thought. And what were we talking about?
Voter intimidation.
Mr. Curry.
So he's like, you're intimidating voters. I'm like, what? I told him he can't pick up an absentee ballot and send it to his Secretary of State in his own state? I didn't do that. They all do it. The military does it. Everybody does it. You can vote where you live, anywhere on the planet.
Actually, if you're in prison in New Hampshire, you can't vote in the town in which you're in prison, which is where you're sleeping every night. Right? And you can guarantee that you're sleeping there every night. But you have to vote where you were either arrested or find some other place if you're indigent.
They're not mobile.
If you are in the military, you don't vote on your base, you vote at home.
Right.
But if you're a college student for some reason and we need your vote here, we're willing to wink and blink at the word domicile, which is a legal word. Look it up on the internet. You'll find domicile is a legal term. If you want to get a divorce, anything at all, domicile is your legal
Jury
address.
duty?
Jury duty.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that later. It's great.
I got a question for you, Steve.
Mm-hmm.
Voter intimidation, is that another one of those progressive redefinition issues in that
Absolutely.
almost anything is intimidation nowadays?
Anything that keeps Democrats from getting people to vote for them, regardless of where they're from, is voter intimidation.
Well, that's
Just a low bar.
It's a general. It's very low. It's a Democrat bar. Of course, it's low.
It's a pathetic excuse for trying to cover for non-resident voters here in the state. Like the other one is, but did he vote twice? Well, I don't have a badge and a gun. I don't have subpoena power.
We don't care.
I would love to do that. I'll show you double voters. Give me an opportunity because I've shown everything there is so far. We've had deceased people voting. We've got people from other countries voting here. I'll show you somebody voting twice. Just give me the right to do it, or have the Attorney General's office actually investigate those things. I have a sneaky suspicion, since I've been bringing election law violations and voter fraud to the Attorney General's office from 1999, 2000, 1996, I think was the first time. I've been bringing them rock-solid cases of election law violation, and they have never prosecuted any of them. So around 2006, I decided, why bother with those people? Because they'll say, so you found somebody voting twice. Did you find him 3 times? That's the game they play. And the word domicile means all these different things. Domicile is a legal term. Mobile domicile is not. If you look up mobile domicile on Google, what do you get? A French portable sawmill. That's all I can find. Other than that, it's the creation of the skull of a judge in Stratford County named John Lewis. And it's a total invention. It does not exist. Domicile is a legal term, and that means you've ruined everything else in New Hampshire by pretending domicile, residency, place of abode. There are facts. There's the law and there's the facts, and we're going to be burrowing into facts. So if you have voted here in New Hampshire, you're from another state, or you intend to vote here and you're from another state, you might want to rethink that. As two of the litigants in the Hanover versus New Hampshire case did,
Didn't they? Yes.
Isn't
It
that
seems
funny?
very odd that there were 4 college students who were suing for the right to vote to New Hampshire, but yet when the time came, they didn't.
Now, is that because I wrote an article about the two of them? They might have
It
Googled
might be. I think we did some follow-ups on what
Yeah.
you wrote, and we made them a little bit more famous than maybe they were looking for.
So if you're a college student and you live on social media and you like to look up your name and you like to tweet and what all the other stuff is, Twitter and Twitter and if you like to do that, your name's going to pop up more often than it normally does. And so you might want to think about it.
You're looking for followers, we're going to find some for you.
I got some followers for you. So we're going to go all the way back to 2002. We're going to work forward, and we're going to have some fun with this. And I hope that the citizens of New Hampshire, tax-paying citizens, people who serve on juries, people who live here and want our state to say that wonderful place it is, are sick of voter fraud, sick of the lies from the public officials that are covering for it, and would like to move, what liberals say, move forward. Let's move forward by stomping this out and having some laws that everybody can agree are the correct laws, understandable, and we can all be sure that our vote, when it's cast, wasn't washed away by 3 or 4 people from another town or another state, country.
And I think you bring up a great point, because as you pointed out, you've been at this for a long time. The attorney generals here in New Hampshire haven't really paid you much attention. They think you were more of
Republican
a problem.
and Democrat, doesn't matter.
Right, you're absolutely right on that, Steve. That you're more of a problem than as somebody trying to rectify something that's wrong. So you've gotten very little traction. I do point out that it was James O'Keefe's Project Veritas who basically said, let's use the new media and get some attention. Then all of a sudden in several states, including here in New Hampshire, everybody went, what? And I think that you point out a really good point that needs to be emphasized more and more, that as a lot of your past research now gets onto the internet and we can drive some of these names higher and higher into Google, they need to start watching out what they do as college students, because those background checks are going to pick that up. And when they show up...
Oh boy, you're applying for a nice job and there's 2 other people with a clean record, or the other people are saying, hey, maybe we should stay away from this person who has that problem. Their name's going to be in the paper all the time. It's going to sink that contract or that bid or that upward mobility we have at the company. We just don't need this, because it's coming.
Andrea Riccio, who voted for Martha Fuller Clark. I've been writing about it for 3 days.
Yep.
I'm already on the first page of Google when you search her name.
I'm going to have to start doing more about the guy that I was looking at, which was Brian from Arkansas.
And she's a congressional staffer for Congressman
Yeah, there's
Christian
an
Holland.
outfit called Legistorm, which we...
Which I just signed up for as a free user.
And
It's a
then
great resource. You can look up any name, find it if they're a congressional staffer, who they worked for, when they worked for. You can get recent payroll data. You have to go pro if you want to get the old data.
So
And
you're working for Congressman Van Hollen in Maryland, I believe it is.
Mhm.
and
Yep.
You're
District 8.
You're here for 6 months working on a campaign.
Making $14.70 a week.
living in the home of someone who's providing you a place to live for free. It's like a free campaign donation.
It is, as I asked that question when I did about the ZBA. I said, is she zoned for this? I mean, is this an in-kind contribution to her campaign or some other campaign?
So,
There's some FEC violation issues here we might want to talk about too.
Anything, sir?
I'm listening.
It's kind of
I've
overwhelming.
known Ed for a long time. I was subject to the the 2000 election in Hanover, New Hampshire. You have this letter here, and I see here it's 800. I remember that number. I remember 1100 stuck in my brain of same-day voter registrants coming out. It's why I lost my race for 2000 state senate, because of same-day voter registration. So that's my personal exposure to this whole thing. I watched it happen.
I remember...
And the bottom line is, and we in Hanover, we wind up, and it's happened twice now, we've elected treasurers to the Grafton County Treasurer, one of whom
college students,
because you're voting straight ticket Democrat. When you're voting, because the college students there, they do know about Obama versus the bad guys, okay? That's the way they think.
That's it.
But they vote straight ticket all the way down to state rep and county treasurer. And they're electing people, they elected a student to county treasurer.
22-year-old student.
Yeah, who did not show up to meetings, did not keep the books and records,
she was queried about, what kind of interest rate are we getting on our balance, our county treasurer balance. She was not able to respond or answer, and refused to answer that. But she was equipped with Prada purses. And it was a lark for her.
Yeah.
And they're messing with, and this is why domicile is important.
Yes.
Because when you're domiciled in a particular town, you're committed to it. You're committed to the state, you're committed to your town, you understand what's going on, you understand the difference between candidates, whether they're Republican or Democrat. Let that lie at rest, but you're committed.
Yeah.
That's why domicile is important.
And I think a lot of that, Jim, goes, and people who read Granite Grok, listen to us on GrokTALK all the time, understand what I'm about to say, because I've said it over and over again. It is our educational system that is failing because they're not taught civics. They're very barely taught the rudiments of the three branches of government. They don't get into the detail in a lot of cases, in a lot of towns, that says, this is who we are as Americans, this is our form of government, this is why it's important to stay informed and to stay involved. And you're right, a $50 or $40 Facebook ad got that college student into the Grafton County Treasurer.
Well, we had one, Stephanie C. Sinclair, a Massachusetts resident, won a House seat. She got elected to the House of Representatives. She's a Massachusetts
In New
resident.
Hampshire.
In New Hampshire. So she's sitting in the election law committee. They put her on. And I go in there, I did my homework. And I walked in, I already knew Stephanie lived in 3 or 4 different places in Cleveland, around the college. I already knew that.
Yeah.
So I went in. She said, "Mr. Chairman, may I ask Mr. Nail a question?" Because I have to ask the chairman of the committee whether or not to ask me a question. She said, "Mr. Nail, would it surprise you to know that my car has Massachusetts plates on it?" I said, "It wouldn't surprise me at all, as long as your driver's license says New Hampshire on it." She resigned from the House. Now you go on and you look in LinkedIn for Stephanie C. Sinclair. You can't find anything on her at all anymore. But before, and I've downloaded it somewhere, she has her list of accomplishments, but she never has. Her list of accomplishments was getting elected to the New Hampshire House. Wouldn't you put that on your LinkedIn site?
You'd think,
Well,
yeah,
wasn't there.
no.
So Stephanie has moved on. I haven't moved on from Stephanie yet because Stephanie's a wonderful example. Bill O'Brien at the time was a House rep, and he was sitting across from me, and Mike Biondo was in the House on election law at the time. So both of those individuals witnessed this, and Bill told me it's one of the most cherished moments of his life was to see that woman get up and leave. She just basically resigned. A couple of weeks later, she was gone. But how many times do we have to do this? So I'm asking citizens to do this. You're going to be able to tell me, first of all, you can look up the definition of moonbat. That will come back to you. You look for really active left-wing Democrats who've lost all perspective and say, how many people were staying at their house? And just tell us, say, I remember cars from all over the country in and out of that house or that little cabin at the end of the road, or even a place that doesn't even exist, like we found in Deerfield.
Yeah, there's lots of those.
24 people voting from a place that doesn't even exist.
They voted from an oak tree.
Yeah. So even if you see an empty space and you think the people from another state are voting here, call cnht.org. Just get a hold of us, give that to us. We'll do the background search. I don't have to let anybody know who you are. I just got a great one from Wyndham. Somebody ratted out somebody from Wyndham. It's great.
Ooh, cool.
So I'm going to do that one. So I have her tracked down to another state. But that keeps coming over the transom. So I've promised you guys that we're going to have a lot of stuff to work with. I think you're happy with what you've seen so far.
Absolutely.
We're getting an uptick in the hits to the websites.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
we're getting what? We were on Drudge for a couple days.
It's gone national. The story got picked up by The Blaze, which is
Michael Graham was talking about.
Michael
down in
Graham
Massachusetts.
picked us up. Gateway Pundit, run by my friend Jim Hoffa, which is another national level blog. This story is starting to get legs because I think a lot of people. The side issue was the Obama data machine of getting brand new.
Where do you see who these people are?
Yeah.
When we start exposing their LinkedIn sites and who they are, the data miners and list managers. that these people are.
Don't forget to freeze them, just like Alinsky would.
Yeah.
Freeze them and polarize them. In other words, capture their LinkedIn sites on in the Wayback Machine or.
Well, it took me a while to figure out how important it was, and I'll give you a little hint. When you start to do the background search of the Obama people that came here, there's 88 of them that were bragging about their website that were Obama's field coordinators and what get out the vote. There's 88 of them. So we've got maybe 22 of them voting here around the state. So as you analyze who they are and where they came from, you see data miner, list managers, computer people. That's what they do. So that's who's here. And then as you go along further, here's a little secret you haven't heard yet. They took sides in the Hassan-Silly, in the governor's race.
I'm quite sure they
So
did.
not only did they come here, they took sides in a race in New Hampshire, and I think Democrats better raise your eyebrows up because your favorite Democrat in the primary is going to be controlled by the data miners that came here starting in 2008. I have people that came here in 2008 that I know where they stayed, I know who they are, I know what they do. They came back in 2012 and stayed at the same place. This blew up in my face. This voter fraud stuff came out long before we wanted it to. We were hoping to wait for Dan and the rest of these people to come, Dan Brzezinski and these other guys, to come back and 2014 and catch them at the house. You know, I have this one guy stays at a woman's home who works for the Department of Justice. Can you imagine that? She let a guy stay at her house 2008, 2012, and probably would have been back in 2014 because you've made yourself invaluable to campaigns when you know all this inside information. If you're a voter in New Hampshire and you showed up at the polls and you saw dozens and dozens of people you never saw before in a small town and hundreds in a larger town, they were motivated by email lists, donor data these guys collected for ages. And when you hear that some of these campaigners, oh, he lived there for 8 months, the average stay of a pro campaigner is 8 or 9 months out is when they come. And they bring in the people that do all the running, going from house to house, knocking on doors. They come in a month before.
Well, except with Obama's group, who's they've been here for years because I saw them all around the Laconia Lakes region, walking around with their
checklists.
Well, not so much the checklist. They were just walking around with a GPS-enabled iPad type unit. They came to my house, and I said no, thank you. But I watched him turn around, and then he stood still, and he's punching in all kinds of pieces of information. The GOP still doesn't have anything.
Oh, they never will. I give up.
Well, our next guest is probably going to be talking about that.
Yes, he is.
Anyway,
Mike,
good luck to him.
Mike had a...
Yeah, I did. So I don't mind if the Democrats send operatives here to work on campaigns.
Yeah, I work with them all the time from different sides.
Right. They come here, they work on their campaign, they leave. I don't mind if they have an absentee ballot back home. What I mind is when they vote here. Likewise, I don't mind if they turn out extra people. We just simply have to be better than them at doing that. But what I do mind is if the people that they turn out are similarly temporary and already voted elsewhere. And that is what you're trying to prove.
Yeah, eventually, but I don't really care. My job is not to catch someone voting twice. My job is to keep people from, that's why I'm a citizen, to keep people from out of state from voting here, because my right to object or to challenge a voter from out of state is equal to my right to vote.
But if they come here and get a New Hampshire's driver's license and evidence
when you get a driver's license here, you have an address on that. You've sworn under penalty of perjury that is your address. And you surrender the license from your state. So that's de facto truth. That's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what we're doing is we're skirting the law and ignoring facts. We deal in facts. Do you have a home in Arkansas? Yeah. You remember the bar in Arkansas? Yes. Your wife and kids live there? Your kids go to school there? Yes. They're called facts. You shouldn't be voting here.
Right.
You lose. If you came here and I look at your LinkedIn site, you've worked for 5 other congressional campaigns, and you still live in Virginia, and you're working on a campaign here, and you left November 13th. Hey, that's a fact. You stole a vote. You should be prosecuted.
No, I agree.
So I'm not going to get into the tall weeds of did they vote somewhere else. And do you know what it's like to try and find out if someone's registered in another state, but that state doesn't have that on the internet? I have to call up and say, oh yes, the woman in Benton, Arkansas told me that Attorney Griffith didn't vote there. Well, what am I going to do? Tell everybody that? I need documentation. And we got documentation on Paulo Kazi.
the guy who was staying at the Cindy Rosenwald's house?
Yeah, Representative Cindy Rosenwald's house. It took me forever just to get a document from the town in Massachusetts where he was registered to vote and voted in 2010. So those things, I'd be stopped. You know, I have to go with the facts I have, and it's pretty rigorous, but the law is one thing. We ignore the law here. I'm not going to let these people ignore the facts.
2 minutes.
Okay, great.
Jury duties? You want to real quick? Talk about jury duty?
Yeah, jury duty is great. Jury duty is like voting. You would think that if you're going to be here, that you'd have to serve on jury duty, because don't we pull the jury pool from people with driver's licenses and the voter checklist? So when you let thousands and thousands and thousands of non-residents vote here, and they stay on our checklist for 10 years, shouldn't they crop up? Well, isn't this interesting? I'm on jury duty last February. I'm thinking I'm going to see some 18 to 23, 25-year-olds. None. The youngest guy I could find when I started interviewing people there was 23 years old. So it appears to me that we have let so many people from out of state register to vote here. Someone is cleaning the voters' the random selection of jury people that are supposed to be serving on juries, so whether they candidates for jury duty, whatever. So I've been going over the laws for jury duty. Whenever I went into the jury room, I had to show my driver's license. So if you vote here and you get picked because you're on the voters checklist, if you're from Mississippi, do you get to serve on a New Hampshire jury? Or is somebody cleaning those lists so that doesn't happen? Because the people who were excused from jury duty had excuses like, I know the police officer or something. No one said, oh, by the way, I'm from Kansas. So it has, once you start down the slippery slope of letting other people from other states vote here, you wind up with Stephanie C. Sinclair as your state rep. Oh, my state rep is from Boston. Oh, I was convicted for doing something by 3 people from Minnesota.
Yeah.
So that's the way we want to run this? Fine. I'm not happy with it. I'm going to talk about it. I think I have the proof. And if you're an elected official in the state of New Hampshire and you're trying to cover for voter fraud, step out front where we can count you on their side.
Yes, because we would love to have all kinds of quotes
Yep.
and documentation about where you stand on this issue. Just like with enhanced background checks. I want you to step forward and tell us all about it and run on it, and if you don't, I'm going to ask you why.
This is one of those black and white issues. You're either for voter fraud or you're against it. So step up, declare which side you're on, let us know, and if you'd like to quietly let us know that your neighbor has 6 or 7 people from California working on campaigns from their house, we'll see if they voted here. And I think it's going to be very entertaining to actually discover who the quality of people that come here to work on these campaigns, because we are a primary state. And do we really deserve to have the primary anymore?
Next 15 months are going to be really interesting.
Our polling data, how's our polling data work? Do you poll people that are from other states that are going to be voting here? Or you just poll people from, Jim got that one. So all the polling data you pay for, if you're a presidential candidate, you come here to run in the primary, what's your polling data worth? Nothing. See you next week.
We are GrokTALK. We are vote fraud, discussing vote fraud. Thanks, Ed, for coming in. Our next guest is Andrew Hemingway. He's going to talk to us about a data project that he's been working on, that he's rolling out, and we'll be right back in just a couple minutes to talk about that.
Oh, wait a minute. This is by Hemingway, not the Republican Party.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's the real
The New
data.
Hampshire Republican Party has nothing.
Too many Democrats.
I flat out
Right.
asked Jennifer Horn,
That's the problem.
if you have a chance of, if you come to a pot of money, are you going to do a website, or are you going to start the process of building a data repository? And she said, we'll do the website. It'll help us better communicate with people
Who don't have
who,
access. Yeah.
well, with the people, because everybody's on the internet, and I go, you don't have a freaking clue. Not a clue one.
Well, Jim, you find this
'Cause
interesting?
I'm fascinated. I'm sitting there.
Anybody know where Andrew is, or-
He said he was coming. I gave him the address.
Alternative system of
Colin.
inhibiting this by outing these people on the internet, as opposed because the state is obviously doesn't care about this, right?
The union leader is trying to manage this and make it go away. It came out, the MUR and those guys, they're trying to manage
What?
this, because Keith was here making fun of us.
Yeah.
And I think they're trying to dilute that. James O'Keefe was here after doing the dead voter thing and making us the laughing stock of the country. I think that's why they got released. So, but anyway, it's a little early for me. I would have rather done it April, May next year, but hey, we're on board. Let's get it going. All right, I gotta stir up some more paperwork.
All right, see you, Jim.
All righty,
Thank you.
take care, sir.
Yeah.
Jim,
We will
thanks for
have
coming
you back in.
Yeah.
There's a lot to discuss, and it
Did you
sounds
guys
like
see my NSA piece that I sent out early this week?
Send it to me. And
It's on my website, just jimrubens.com. The issues tab, pull down NSA.
Okay. What I offer to
Yeah.
all of the folks who are running
Yeah.
is guest posts. So if you've got something that you think is worthwhile, that you want people to see,
Yeah.
I mean, we probably get the biggest voice on the conservative libertarian
Oh,
side
yeah?
of the state
Yeah.
here in New Hampshire.
Would you link to that piece? You go to my website, jimrubens.com, issues, bang, NSA.
I will.
Easy to get to.
Let me.
I just posted it like yesterday.
no, we
Let me
can
put it
cross
out.
we can cross post it and link it.
Here
Yeah.
it is in it
Okay.
is in hard copy.
All right, that's what this
it's
is
on
what
my
I
website,
need.
jimrubens.com.
I'll post
issues.
this. The
Yeah.
problem is, I'm getting older and
Yeah.
I start losing my memory. So I put the burden on other people. If you want me to put it up, send me an
Well,
email.
how's that for your? How's that for
That
your-
works.
Yeah. This was fun. A lot of fun. Thank
Yeah.
you, folks.
All right, take
Yeah,
care.
definitely worth going into some of these things. Some
Yeah.
of them off mic and then back at them on mic. I think.
Right. Yeah.
Let me
Because
show you something.
amazing work, yeah.
You guys saw this yesterday, right?
Yes, I did. I did. Where the heck is Andrew?
Coming back.
But
Without him.
and you like King Wrong, I take it.
You can go call him or whatever, just whatever you want to do.
Calling him, or I like calling him. I don't mind calling him. You guys decide.
I'll be right back.
GrokTALK.